Hi there. So this is my Monday morning wrap-up after the show. After I edit out the bumpers and things, I have a few minutes left on the end of the show to just wrap up what's happened since the live show on Saturday night, the 10th. It's now the 12th, and yesterday on the 11th, James released the recording of the live show on his site, MediaMonarchy.com. So that was pretty cool. Don't mind that at all. I've heard that that Cody Hall did possibly get arrested, regardless of the fact that I was mad at him for blowing my show off, essentially, last week. I wouldn't want him to get arrested, so I take no joy in them arresting people who are trying to do the right thing. And I take no stance on tactics. I'm not there, so I don't have a say on the tactics that they use to achieve their goals. I mean, I can speculate and I can have an opinion, but ultimately it's up to them because they're the ones on the ground and they're the ones taking the risks. But I can speculate that should there be arrests going on in Red Warrior, that this is exactly what the elders and the folks who established the Sacred Stone Camp and asked them not to do the direct actions the way that they did, warned them about. This is exactly what they warned them about. So there is that. And those that still have any confusion left about what does the court decision mean? What does the statement by the Department of the Interior, the Department of Justice, and the Department of the Army, and the Obama administration, what does that all mean? Basically what it means is that they know that we're winning and they have to do something to make it look like they give a crap. So this is the establishment's attempt at making it look like they give a crap. But I still hope we win. I might be skeptical because I've seen it all before, but I still hope we win. The main point is that nobody's going home. The folks that go there on the weekend, they're home. There's a lot of folks that go on the weekend, kind of like a powwow, and then go home because they have jobs and things like that they have to maintain. And so the weekend is a time where a lot of people bring supplies for those that are staying through the week. And I think things have calmed down about the anti-non-native sentiment and things like that, because a lot of non-natives are getting arrest warrants issued for their cause. It's just when a bunch of white mercenaries come at you with a pack of attack dogs and some pepper spray, it gets a little hard to play the I love everyone and I'm at peace sentiment and feeling. Because you have to remember, natives have been and continue to be a toxic dumping ground for the government, and in a legal limbo situation that it's basically our laws are created to keep natives in poverty. And if you've listened to my past shows, you've heard about native land trust laws and how that keeps people in poverty on the reservation, and blood quantum laws and how that separates people in Indian communities, and just straight up divide and conquer. The thing that I fight against a lot is that I'm a community appointed domestic violence and sexual violence advocate. What that means is I'm not a professional that works in a women's shelter, but I'm somebody that has been trained professionally because, that's what my mother did after being a scientist her whole life and before retirement to just running a farm. So I got to go to trainings with her. But what that means is that people tell me stuff because when you're a singer, people look up to you. It's just the way it is. So when people tell me stuff, I try to figure out how to get them in the system and get them safe and get their kids safe. And this happens to men and women. But, let's face it, it mostly happens to women. It's just the way it is. But the domestic and sexual violence advocate system has evolved enough to where we recognize when the male is the abused in the situation. In many situations, they're both abusing each other. They're both in a vicious cycle of abusing each other, and the kids get caught in the middle. So what I fight against is that when people stand up and call bullshit on their abuser, people go, "Oh, wait a minute, we need unity. We need unity." It's like, well, where was the unity when this guy was kicking my ass? Where was the unity? That's my question. So sometimes the call for unity gets used in a manipulative and gaslighting way, and that's everywhere. That's not just the Native communities; it's everywhere. So I fight against that a lot. I struggle with that. I am challenged by that. And the best example of that is Annie Mae Pictou Aquash's family. They have been marginalized and demonized for telling the truth about what really happened to Annie Mae, and that she was killed by her own. She was kidnapped, tortured, raped, and murdered by her own. And the people responsible for it, the person who ordered her murder, is worshipped like a god in the Native community. And the people who are complicit in her murder and who stand up for the people who it took 30 some years to get in jail, the trigger people, the soldiers, John Graham in particular, who's never admitted to it. Arlo Looking Cloud, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't know that she was praying for her children when she was shot in the back of the head and left to die in the Badlands. It's because of him. He's sitting in jail too, because he didn't save her then, but he was afraid for his own life as well. And Denise has had to endure, Russell Means saying, "Yeah, I know who ordered her murder, but I can't tell you because I have to honor my blood oath." And everybody worships him into his grave and beyond. And Peltier, made over from a thug into a political prisoner. He's shoved a gun in her mouth, but yeah, he should be president and let go from jail. Everybody worries about Peltier's family and Dennis Banks' family and Russell Means' family, if you tell the truth. But nobody worries about Annie Mae's family. Nobody worries about Denise, who lost her mom when she was like 8 or 9. 10 at the most. And then come to find out the people that she thought were her friends. The people she went back to make sure that they knew that she would never betray them. Betrayed her. So I fight against those elements that are still in the communities. And I've identified one of those elements as the Last Real Indians, run by Chase Iron Eyes. I have experience with him. And my experience of him is that he's not a good person. And I'll tell you why. His empire was built with the help of a man named David Moore. David Moore is a registered sex offender of a 16-year-old girl. And he is the cousin of Levi Reichert, who is the owner of Native News Online, which used to be Native News Network. But they had to rebrand it after David Moore's sex registry was tweeted out into the universe. And the way that I found out about David Moore was that this was years ago, about 5 years ago or so, he recruited a bunch of mixed-blooded Native women to tweet for Native News Online, because he ran the Twitter account. And then he started playing, little psychopath games or narcissist games where he would pit the women against each other. And when I, for instance, I was one of the women who was recruited to tweet for them. When I would not comply with his demands for my time, he started to smear me with the other women. And then when I found out from another woman that he did the same thing too, that he was a sex offender, and then I tweeted the sex offender registry, the other women treated me as though I was the devil, not the person who went to jail for raping a 16-year-old girl. That wasn't the devil, it was me for pointing out. You're all being gaslighted by a sex offender who is a cluster B. So then they started to realize, oh boy, he really is a predator. And they started to fall away from him one by one, and then he started to tell them that AIM and Chase Iron Eyes is going to come after you now that you're not on my team anymore, kind of thing. So I contacted Chase and said, I just wanted to let you know, your name is being used to terrorize people. Thought you might care about that, but no, he didn't. And he was very clear about that. I don't care. Why would you think I would care? Even just shocked that I would even think that he would care. And within minutes of that exchange, he posted this is Chase Iron Eyes, a picture of his hands across some barbed wire with the caption, "Gotta chase down these white women." Okay, so it doesn't end there. That's not the end of my experience with Chase Iron Eyes' character. Then, on the Justice for Annie Mae page, Denise began talking about the Last Real Indians because they were beginning at that time to get a lot of attention and saying, hey, knowing their AIM ties and the Native News Online tie, Levi Reichert is his news agency, Native News Online, is an outlet for AIM. That's just, if you read that, you're just going to get what AIM wants you to know. That's it. End of story. So the Justice for Annie Mae page, Denise started to question. This is about 4 years ago, and she ended up in a conversation with Chase and Sarah Jumping Bull, Chase's wife, about the ins and outs of the case and how John Graham is guilty, and it was eyewitnesses, 23 eyewitnesses, most of which were AIM members, that led to his conviction. Their testimonies. John Trudell's testimony, where he said he was in the car with Dennis Banks. This was in the Bay Area, and this was in the time frame between the time that they found Annie Mae's body and they hadn't identified her, and they hadn't found the bullet in the back of her head yet. They didn't find that till the second autopsy. So it was in that window of time that Dennis Banks said to John Trudell, the body they found is Annie Mae, and there's a bullet in the back of her head. Yeah, so that's in court testimony. People are too lazy. It's just what they heard at a powwow. Those are the facts, not what they read in New York Times or, court testimonies. So anyway, Chase Iron Eyes hears Denise out, who's very compelling and very fact-based. He was either John Graham's lawyer at that time or became his lawyer after that conversation. So that's just like some insight into Chase Iron Eyes' character. And so yeah, he would be perfect for Congress. Perfect. Thanks for listening.